What would you do if your life depended on a single vote? Would you risk it all to escape, or keep playing for a chance at survival? Netflix's Squid Game Season 2 takes the moral dilemmas to a whole new level, with twists that will leave you questioning everything. Let's dive into the deeper meaning behind the voting process, the shifting alliances, and the impossible choices that define the season. Buckle up, this is where things get intense. Let's recap the voting. In Season 1, when they vote to end the games, if successful, the money will be sent to the families of the fallen victims, in this case 100 million won each. However, current alive players will get nothing. So what does this mean? Does this incentivize ending the games? I would argue no. Voting to end the games means you value your life, yes, but also you value the sacrifice of the fallen game members, which one could say is a more ethical decision. But taking the context of the situation, these people are complete strangers, and people invited to these games are at a complete financial low, so they're easy to manipulate. In Season 2, voting works by the following. Players are allowed to vote after every game, and if successful in voting, the remaining players will split the money equally. The money wouldn't go to dead players and their families, but just to the remaining alive players. There's another big change in voting, but let's talk about the repercussions of these rules alone, and how it affects a player's decisions regarding the games. In Season 1, the players are successful in ending the games initially at the red light green light, and based on the established rules, the dead has gotten the money. But after they continue the games, and voting does not occur again because everyone that came back realizes the risk, but the reason they came back is because they have nothing else to lose. Now in Season 2, the first round of voting ends with a narrow majority choosing to continue the games. One could argue that Ji-hun revealing he had participated in games before influenced the mass majority's decision, as many believed his experience might improve their chances.
저 아까 선생님 때문에 동그라미 눌렀어요. 사실 저도 겁나서 그만두고 나가려고 그랬는데 선생님 얘기 듣고선 딱 한 게임만 더 해볼까 그 생각했거든요. 저도.
Now this is just manipulation from the frontman. He pointed out an error from Ji-hun's point of view, in which from this scene we can assume this was the main reason why people voted to stay in the games, but if this one game mindset is a trap that he used. Initial reactions to the prize of 24 million won were notably underwhelming, as it was explained earlier in the episode that most participants' debts far exceeded this amount. In this context, their decision makes sense. Splitting the money would do little to alleviate their financial struggles, and some might speculate that without the previous frontman's vote, the outcome could have been a tie, but that's a more hypothetical scenario than a definitive factor. My favorite aspect of the voting this season is the players being given patches. These patches show which way the players voted and is meant to divide the players. And this division ends up with players picking sides, those who want to stay and finish the games, and those who want to end and leave. Now that players know where others' allegiances lie, they are incentivized to kill. Eliminating a player from the opposing side could, in theory, shift the balance of votes in their favor now. Not to mention, players now have the option to vote after every game. This raises the question, what will be the tipping point for deciding to back out of the games? This system cleverly manipulates players into continuing with the mindset, we'll vote to leave after just one more game. This is the false idea of this experiment being voluntary. Majority of these players have high gambling debts, the number to split will never be high enough for them, so they'll always want to continue with, let's just do one more game. Okay, let's assume the frontman introduced this system in response to Ji-hun re-entering the games. He knows Ji-hun's goal is to end the games and to save as many lives as possible. Was the frontman concerned that Ji-hun might heavily influence the vote to end the games? This season, his primary intention seems to be breaking Ji-hun's ideology about the games, and more broadly, the way he views life. He aims to shatter Ji-hun's faith in humanity, a theme we see evident in all of their interactions, more or less. The next vote is interesting, because now with an exceptionally high prize pool, you think this would be enough to sway the votes to ending the games, in which some do switch. But at this point, if you still want to continue the games, is it safe to say you'll never switch sides? What is the turning point to make you switch sides now? The frontman votes to end the games, and it results in a tie. Did he do this because he wanted to gamble on the night game? There's no concrete answer to this, but he knows there would be a revote. And how if he were to vote yes here, could he justify to Ji-hun in the group without being at least considered suspicious and deemed not trustworthy, especially with what went down in the previous game? Fast forward past the voting, and now we see the true results of the patches, the night game. Tensions are already high from previous games, and one elimination on either side can completely affect the next vote in the morning. During the planning phase, the frontman suggests that they should strike first.
불이 꺼지면 우리가 먼저 공격하는 겁니다.
그래요. 차라리 먼저 칩시다.
기훈 씨도 그랬잖아요. 이제 더 이상 침착하게 할 땐 지났다고.
그렇다고 우리끼리 서로 죽고 죽일 수는 없습니다.
A strategy completely at odds with Ji-hyun's morals. While Ji-hyun is determined to end the games and free everyone, he wants to do so without bloodshed, seeking a clean and honorable path. But the frontman directly challenges his ideals, highlighting the contradiction in Ji-hyun's approach. Ji-hyun's plans to escape the games involves risking the lives of his comrades, relying on little more than a desperate whim. The frontman prods at these inconsistencies with probing questions, yet Ji-hyun presses on, rationalizing that killing the staff is acceptable if it means ending the games. The tragic irony is that this plan ultimately results in even more deaths, including those of the people he cared about the most. While I'm not suggesting that the frontman's plans wouldn't have led to more deaths, it seems his real intention was to see how Ji-hyun would react to his proposal. This sets the stage for one of my favorite lines this season, delivered perfectly.
내 일을 위해서 작은 희생은 감수하자는 건가요?
Here the frontman is directly challenging Ji-hyun's worldview, pointing out the moral contradictions in his actions. Is the frontman implying the Squid Games are a necessary evil? Ji-hyun's plans undeniably involve sacrifices, but this marks a stark departure from Ji-hyun we saw during last season's Red Light Green Light, a man who would never even consider sacrifice as an option. And especially looking at this season's Red Light Green Light, this is the man who tried to save everybody, so he would never have sacrificed anyone or even thought of it as an option. Ji-hyun's plans to rush the guards and the frontman's plan to strike first and attacking the opposing team each present their own moral dilemmas, raising the question of which is the more ethical approach to survival and resistance within the games. Ji-hyun's plan hinges on the idea of disrupting the system by targeting the guards, those enforced in the games. While this approach aligns with the broader goal of ending the games and liberating the players, it comes with significant moral compromises. By attacking the staff, Ji-hyun effectively dehumanizes them, seeing them as obstacles rather than individuals, which is at odds with his initial commitment to minimizing harm, but really he doesn't care about harm as long as it's not towards the players. His willingness to risk the lives of his comrades in this high-stakes gamble also calls his moral consistency into question. Is it truly justifiable to place others in danger for a plan based on uncertain outcomes? Don't forget this plan practically is contingent on sacrificing the X's to set this in motion, in which they don't even have a say on the matter. Who is he to call the shots on their lives? Ji-hyun isn't a perfect hero, he's a gambling addict in way over his head. On the other hand, the frontman's suggestion to strike first and attack the opposing team confronts an even more direct moral quandary. This strategy involves deliberately targeting fellow players, people who are just as trapped and desperate as they are. While this plan might seem pragmatically sound in the short term, as it reduces the number of competitors and shifts the balance of power, it requires participants to abandon their humanity and embrace the very brutality of the games to thrive on. For Ji-hyun, who wants to preserve a sense of morality and justice, this approach is deeply unsettling as it represents a descent into the game's darkest impulses. Ultimately, the debate between these two plans boils down to competing ethical frameworks. Ji-hyun's plan seeks to dismantle the system, but at the cost of potentially innocent lives among the guards, blurring the lines between resistance and aggression. Meanwhile, the frontman's plan is rooted in survivalism, but it necessitates viewing others as expendable for personal gain. Neither plan is free of moral compromise, and this tension underscores one of Squid Game's central themes, and a system built on exploitation and despair. Can any decision truly be right? The plan raises too many questions. There's an argument to be made for Ji-hyun simply continuing to play the games, while waiting for the outside party to locate him, but would they even find him in time? Or even find him at all? Who's to say? Who knows? That said, let's move past this plan. Season 2 of Squid Game, while not quite surpassing the brilliance of Season 1, was still a fantastic watch. My favorite aspect was the more dilemmas our heroes faced, forcing them to navigate increasingly difficult decisions at every turn. Ji-hyun's recklessness has grown as his mindset has shifted, and it really makes you wonder how far he'll go in Season 3. In my opinion, the frontman has already scored a major win by changing the way Ji-hyun sees the world and himself. Season 3 is bound to take things even further, pushing the characters to face some truly life-changing decisions, and I just can't wait to see how it all plays out and where their stories end up. Well, what do you guys think about the voting process and Ji-hyun's plan? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so make sure to drop a comment below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out as I continue to grow this platform and this community. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.